So I've really got this thing for chestnuts at the moment. Oh, they smell so good. So good as these are, I'm not here to talk to you about chestnuts today. I'm here to talk to you about my lens lineup, why I choose primes and zooms, and why I think the whole debate between primes and zooms is stupid. So let's get into it. Let's have a look at my lineup, and we'll start talking about it. So I just gorged myself on all of those chestnuts, and I'm feeling pretty sleepy now. But nonetheless, we press on. 24-70. This is my first and foremost primary lens. I use it mostly as a photojournalistic sort of lens. Most do. The RF zooms are absolutely fantastic, and you know what, their low light autofocus is unbelievable. The stabilization is unbelievable for low light. They're unreal. So if you're doing anything that's sort of not particularly fast moving, pretty awesome in all conditions, really good lens. I absolutely love using it. It's, you know, all of the dials feel really good on it. All of the rings, the switches feel good. It's just a really solidly built lens, really good. So the second lens I have to talk about is my 70-200 f2.8. These are both f2.8, and they work really well as a 1-2 combo. I probably shoot a bit more on the 24-70 than on the 70-200, but the 70-200 is an outstanding lens for if you're in any sort of situation where you sort of can't get close and you really need to. So things like the ceremony, you know, ring shots, first kiss, that sort of thing, really quite nice. And if you are doing if you're doing portraits where you really want that like long compression, this can really come in handy too. So just as before, you know, this comes with all of the options, all of the switches. The zoom is really nice on it. It extends and collapses. So I mean, you've seen the reviews on this. This lens is just built fantastically. Really nice and sharp, really good stabilization. It's just all around fantastic. Sometimes though, right? Now here's the thing. People talk about primes and zooms like it's sort of one or the other. And, you know, I can see why, because they both kind of do the same job, but people tend to like one or the other a bit more. So maybe you get a little bit more flexibility with your zooms. You know, obviously in the moment, you know, you don't have to change lenses. You can just quickly back and forth to whatever focal length you want. That's a really good advantage, but you can't get that ultra shallow depth of field like the 1.4, the 1.2, and also they can make you a little lazy. And what I mean by that is that you don't sort of tend to move around as much to get maybe a composition that you wouldn't have thought of. This is all true, but to be honest, I think it's a little bit of a faff. I don't think there's as much in it as people think. I think they're tools for a job, and these lenses here, these 2.8 RF 24-70s, they're as sharp as any prime lens I've ever seen, and they do the job really well. Having said that, I do use primes. So 3514 by Sigma. This is a EF version that I use on a smart adapter with the control ring. Really good lens. Yeah, it's a 1.4, heaps of light, and really nice rendering. And same thing with this behemoth here is the EF again. EF Sigma 8514. Now, here's the thing. These lenses I like to use for portraits, and I like to use in situations where I can be a little bit more creative. So say you're in a situation where you're doing sunset photos for a couple. Now, you got sort of two options here that make really nice sort of long telephoto sort of pictures. You got your prime and your zoom. Now, to be honest, I tend to use the prime more for this one, and that is because I have more control over the situation. I can walk around, we've got a little bit more time, and then I can compose by moving my feet a bit more. When you're in sort of a more like dynamic event situation, you go with the zoom. But for me, I really do like I like the rendering, the light rendering that comes out of this. The flaring is beautiful. And same goes for the 35, right? So the rendering that comes out of these is just beautiful. They go really nicely. Weight and size wise, they're about the same as the RF lenses, so that's a bit of a wash. The 35's a little bit lighter than the 24-70, but the 85 is actually heavier than the 70-200. So if I'm just taking two lenses all day, it's gonna be the zooms. If I don't have room, maybe I'm flying somewhere, or maybe if I don't sort of have room to put a bag somewhere on the day, it's pretty rare to be honest, then I'm going to be taking these two. These are my friends for the day. If I am in a really well controlled, really well planned out sort of wedding, that I sort of know the venue really well and I know that I'm going to have the capability to move around, then I'm going to be using these two. But I also take all of them and I switch through the day. So say we're at a big wedding, okay? So through the day I will use the 24-70 and the 70-200 because there's sort of better lighting, so I don't have to go down to 1.4. And to be honest, a lot of the time I don't want to go down to 1.4 anyway, because if we're in group photos, if there's more than one person in the photo, then you're always going to have sort of one person's eye out of focus and the other person's in focus, and it's not as good of a photo as if you've got that sort of thicker depth of field. So oftentimes I do go with the zooms for those sorts of situations, especially if we're shooting groups. When it comes to receptions and during the evening, things do slow down a little bit. I will tend to use the primes because I think they continue to give that sort of dreamy look. The rendering is nicer. And when I say the rendering, I mean if you've got heavy backlighting, these look a little bit too perfect. They don't show up bloom in the photo from heavy backlighting, but these do, and they show it up really nicely and softly. So I love that, and I think it gives a really nice result for my clients. These, again, super sharp, really good stabilization, but stabilization doesn't count for much when you've got people moving around, when they're talking, when they're moving at a human speed. Then you really do need to keep a better shutter speed, and these allow me to do that without putting my shutter speeds too sort of slow, or having like a high ISO. I try to avoid that as much as I can. It's less of an issue with this R6. I use two R6s, but they're just unbelievable in low light. They're fantastic. Less of an issue with them, but all the same, I just try to maintain sort of the best quality I can. So I guess in summation, the way that I like to use my lenses is like this. Most situations I'll use these. I'm happy to use the zooms for portraits. I'm happy to use them for for general photojournalistic work, ceremonies. I could use these for everything all day. By and large, I just use them for sort of the more photojournalistic stuff. I use them for that, and then I use these for the more sort of creative photos, a little bit more dreamy, I use them for, I try and get sort of the photos that you can hang on your wall. You know, the portraits, your first dance, that sort of thing. That's what these are really fantastic for. So there's really no winner for me. I think that there's room for everything. Everything has a purpose, and I really think it's silly. And I think there's purpose for all of these. And what's better is if you shoot with both, if you have both, what happens if you're a prime shooter and your 85 hits the deck and smashes? What do you do then? For me, I'm still gonna cry about it, but I got my 70 to 200 that I'll use, and that'll cover me. And same vice versa. If my 24 to 70 goes down, if that gets smashed, I sub it for the 35. It's fine. They will get me through. They'll get a result for my couple, and then I can look at what to do with this later. I can look at whether it goes to repair or insurance or whatever. I look at that later. So really, not only is it giving yourself options for what to do, but it's also giving yourself a backup. And every wedding photographer should really get that. Backups are everything. And I know this is an issue that's been tackled a lot on YouTube. So let me know if you think this was sort of a better take on the situation. I don't think there's a winner between primes and zooms. I think they're all fantastic. These days, lenses are just unreal. But there's slightly varying qualities about one or the other that might make you choose what you will choose. So thanks again for watching. I hope you'll stick around and watch me in the future. I want to talk a little bit more about how I shoot and my methodology and the experience that my couples get out of that. So if you found this valuable, please do give me a like, give me a subscribe. Tell me why you think I'm wrong. Tell me why you think you should just have primes. I know there'll be a bunch of you out there that want to do that. Or tell me why you just use zooms. I think in a lot of situations people might prefer that. So thanks again for watching. See you in the next one.